Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about the perfect formula for approaching women you find attractive. And this works every time, okay? So, what I mean by this works every time is that if you follow this particular formula, even if the woman rejects you, you will still come across looking really good and really cool and really confident in yourself. So she will at least, even if she rejects you, be impressed by you, okay? So this is the formula and we're going to get straight into it today. So this is the formula here. I've written it down for you. So the first one, number one, is to admit. Now, what does it mean to admit? Okay, so if you're approaching a woman, and let's say this is a woman that you've never spoken to before, let's say that she's a woman who you see at work and you've never spoken to her before, and let's say she's a woman that you see out when you're out with your buddies, or it could be a woman that you see at the supermarket. So what you have to admit here, before you even say anything about asking her out, is you got to admit that this is random, it's something that you don't usually do, and that it's out of the blue. Okay, so when you go up to her, you basically let her know that you know that what you're doing is a bit random and a bit odd and a bit out there, okay? And it's not how you would usually behave, okay? And what this does is it gives you something called social proof. It makes you look normal. So if you go up to her and you're like, this is going to sound really weird, or this is just really out of the blue, or this is really random, but I just had to come up to you because I just thought you looked so attractive. And that's when you go into step 2 and you start asking her out or asking for a phone number. But yet the reason why you do the admitting first, admitting that this is out of the blue, this may sound a bit random, however you want to put it across, it makes you seem less it makes you seem like you're not a stalker or you're not like a crazy person, because someone who doesn't do this, who doesn't first go up to a woman and say first, hey, this is a bit random, or hey, sorry, I know this is going to sound a little bit out of the blue. If a guy just goes straight up to a woman and says, hey, can I have your phone number, it can seem a bit too too forceful, too in your face, too much, and it doesn't really give a woman much time to sort of think. Whereas if you sort of go up kind of very easygoing, you got a smile on your face and you say, hey, you know what, I know this is a bit random, right? So it's sort of like preparing her a little bit that you're going to say something a little bit out there. It's not just going to completely shock her and leave her like dazed, okay? Because if you go up to a woman and you just blurt out, can I have your phone number, it's going to make her be like, even though that's a very bold thing to do, it's still like, you're not preparing her, okay? So you're also preparing her by saying, this sounds a little bit out of the blue, or I know this sounds a bit random. You're preparing her for something like this. Like she's more than likely going to start beginning to guess that, oh, maybe he's going to ask me out or something, or he's going to say something that I need to sort of like brace myself for in a way. Okay, so that's why you admit. Okay, you admit that this is random. You admit that this is something that you don't usually do. You admit that this is a bit random. Okay, so that's the first part of the formula. Okay. So the next part is to ask. So you say, hey, I know this is a bit random, but I think you're very, very beautiful. So I just felt really drawn to you. Can I have your number? Or when are you available? I'd love to hang out with you. You know, so if you're less bold, you can just ask for her phone number or her Facebook information, her Instagram information, Snapchat, whatever. Or you can be really bold and then just say, I'd really love to get to know you better. When are you free? Now, what's going to happen here is two things, okay? So either she's going to give you her phone number or accept the date, or she's going to politely reject you or give you an excuse, okay? So if she gives you anything other than here's my number, or yes, I would love to see you, or when she's available, basically, if she does anything other than that, she is rejecting you, okay? So if she says, oh, I don't, I've got a boyfriend, or I don't really, I'm just focused on my work right now, I'm just focusing on my studies. These are just kind of ways of saying no to you, okay? So just take all of those things as a no, okay? So if that happens to you and you get rejected, then that's when step 3 comes into play, which is grace, okay? Now, what I mean by grace is that you then deal with the situation, you deal with the rejection gracefully, because obviously the rejection just happened to your face. It can be tempting to ask her more questions like, what do you mean? Is there something wrong with me? Am I ugly? Do you really have a boyfriend? Are you just making that up? Things like that. So you want to deal with this with grace. So how do you deal with that kind of rejection with grace? So let's say you go up to her and she says to you, no, sorry, I've got a boyfriend. What do you do? Okay, so how do you deal with that gracefully? Okay, so you say something like, well, you know what, he's a really lucky guy. I hope you have a great day, and just take it as a compliment. And then you walk away. Okay, you don't hover around her. You don't try to continue the conversation. You don't try and backpedal or anything like that. You just accept it. Tell her to take it as a compliment and move on with your life and walk away. Okay? So the reason why you do that is because if you do anything other than that, if you start asking her more questions, it's going to make her become uncomfortable, okay? And you're going to freak her out, and she's going to think that you're a stalker and that you're never going to leave her alone, okay? Especially if this is someone who you've just sort of met, who you don't know, and you've met out and about, right? If you met her at the supermarket or something like that, okay? So that's the best way that you can deal with it, if you just tell her to take it as a compliment and to walk away, okay? Because more than likely than not, this probably doesn't happen to her every day, right? If a guy likes her, even if she's got a boyfriend, he'll probably end up slipping into her DMs. He'll probably try and be her friend first. But you've been bold and you've actually gone up to her and asked her out. And not only have you done that, but you handled her rejection extremely gracefully, and she's probably going to feel uplifted for the rest of the day, because guys probably don't usually come up to her and say anything to her like that. They probably come up to her, instead of being like asking her out, they say something like, oh, I really like your handbag, or they start making a conversation about something else, okay? And she knows what's going on. She knows that, oh, he came up to me because he likes me, but he's just talking about all these other random things, and he's trying to be my friend, he's trying to get my phone number, and I know later on he's going to ask me out, and he's not being direct about it, okay? And she may already have a boyfriend and may already be feeling awkward about it, so she can't exactly reject him because he hasn't mentioned asking her out. So she feels that she has to entertain him and keep talking to him, okay, even though she's not interested at all, okay? Which is why you try and do things gracefully. Yeah, grace. You handle it with grace, okay? So another great thing, though, is that obviously you don't even have to think about this one. You don't even have to think about, and sort of ending things gracefully, if you ask her out and she says yes. If she gives you her phone number. So if she gives you her phone number, the best thing to do then is to give her yours, so let's say she gives you her phone number, you put it in, and then you message her on WhatsApp with your information, maybe you send like a smiley face so she knows that she's got your number. And then what you do after that is you wait a few days. So wait about 3 or 4 days, and then you can go in there and ask her out properly, okay? So you ask her out by saying, hey, this was so-and-so, because you probably exchange names. So you say, hey, this is John. When are you free? Let's hang out. All right? That's what you say. You say something along those lines. And then if she's still interested, she'll let you know when she's free, and you can arrange a date and say, great, let's meet up at this place at this time, and let's go for it, basically, okay? Now, if you ask her out in person, so you don't ask for a phone number, the way that you handle it is this. You ask her out. So you say to her, hey, this is really random and out of the blue, but I think you're really beautiful, and I just felt really drawn to you. When are you free? I'd love to take you out. And if she says yes to that, and she agrees to it, and she tells you when she's free, she says, oh, wow, yeah, I'm free on Saturday. You're like, great. How about we meet at the Turkish restaurant at 6:30? Obviously pick a restaurant that's in the area that she probably knows. And say, how about I see you then? And she's like, yeah, okay, see you then. And that's basically how you ask a woman out in person, okay? And again, remember, if she rejects you, it's always grace, okay? You always end it with grace. Say, take it as a compliment, I hope you have a great day, okay? And that's all you need to say. Or if she says, I've got a boyfriend, well, he's a really lucky guy, and just take it as a compliment, and I hope you have a great day, okay? And that is basically how you can ask a woman out perfectly, okay? That's the perfect formula. So even if it goes wrong and it goes pear-shaped, and you get rejected, you at least come across in the best light possible, and you don't look creepy or look like a stalker or just look, you know. And also, if it saves you embarrassment as well, because you only have to say that quick thing, and then you're no longer sort of like standing around like going, oh, I don't know what to do, you know, I've been rejected, right? You now know what to do. You end it gracefully by saying, take it as a compliment, have a great day, and then you walk away. You just walk away, okay? You don't continue talking to her, you just let it go. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.